When 750,000 people saw my game, I thought I had made it. I said, this is it. This is the big day. Now I'm not really sure what I'm making. People played the game. They had fun. They made stories, built worlds. Then they looked at me and asked, what's next? And I didn't have an answer. The world of content is a really weird place. There's rules dotted all around, lines you should never cross, tenets that should always be upheld. Yet sometimes it feels like all of those things are invisible, and I have to just waddle my way around hoping to do it right. But maybe there's something else to glean from this. Maybe there's a lot more to the story than that. Failure after success really got me in my head. It made me insecure about my capabilities and where I was heading from here. Meta-narrative isn't just a story, it's what happens to you when you experience a story. It's the emotional shift that no book or game explicitly writes, but that you walk away with anyways. Meta-narrative is a concept I've always been so passionate about. It's the idea that when you experience a piece of media, only half of the story is within the media itself. The other half is in you. And I know that sounds cheesy, but give me a second to de-cheese it. If I were to claim that a movie was moving, that's because it modified my perspective in some way. It shifted my viewpoint about a number of topics. And what's so fascinating about that to me is that I would struggle to do that talking to you directly. I mean, sure, sometimes I may be able to get a little push and a nudge in, but even that feels somewhat rare. But a well-tailored story does it differently. It simulates a world, encapsulates you, asks questions that people like us aren't allowed to ask. Questions surrounding zany characters, supernatural powers, or dark concepts that we can't test for ourselves. I always ask, what is it that I can take away from a book or a game that I can't take away from everyday life? And the answer to that was revolutionary to me. When it comes to designing a game, one thing that was always on my mind was the same thing that made a game so distinct from all other forms of media: agency. No matter how many times you watch a movie or how many times you read a book, the narrative will always be the same. Never will the words magically shift one way or the other, and we both know Marvel isn't going to be bothered with changing the movie because I want a new ending to Captain America: Civil War. There's something so nuanced about being able to craft a character's journey from scratch, embody that world and its various challenges as if you were actually there, feel the impending forces of your environment push against you and your goals. So that became my main focus point, making a game where you could do anything, be anybody, and craft a journey from your perspective, through your eyes, through your means. And with that concept, Utopia TTRPG was born, and that was when the Compass secretly got its first debut. I posted a video about this game and its various features with little expectation. Imagine the expression on my face when it quickly became the biggest pillar of growth my channel has ever seen. Or any platform of mine for that matter. Twitch, Discord, Instagram, YouTube, an audience began to gather around this idea of customizability. Now, the picture I painted in that game wasn't all of what I was trying to say. However, it gave me a structure to explain it. A fictional world, or what the community calls the narrative with a capital N, is a simulated universe in which you have a little focal point that you can move around. That focal point is the character you make. In this world, you make decisions, you craft your journey, and you impact the world around you. And that last part is really easy to dismiss. Impact the world around you. What does that even mean, really? What it should mean is that your actions have consequences, but not just in one story you talked to your friends about from about a year ago, only to be forgotten. I mean permanent consequences. And that's where the phrase came from. Everything is canon. This was my new impossible goal. No matter what story you tell, no matter what game you play, no matter what you decide to do, in the narrative, it is true. This narrative world will be modified, crunched, and tensioned by everybody who brushes past it, as any world should. There's something to take away from a rigid story with only one ending. There's a million things to take away from a world that's impacted by real people that make real decisions. But how do you even go about that? What does that even mean? I mean, it sounds like a great idea and concept, but how do you even execute that? I already had a plan in mind. Now, I'm not watching from your kitchen window while you play Utopia, probably, so I can't know every single thing that happens in every single game, but I can offer a space that is conducive to it. So I watched. Discord, Twitch chat, the comments on this very video, I watch it all happen. Anything from intricate little theories to silly memes about, quote-unquote, freaky don't. And with all of the things you said, the story slowly began to change. Agency in a vacuum isn't agency at all. No, we weren't going to stop there. What you do, what everybody does, should impact this fictional world just like it does the real one. Because only half the story is in the pages, the other half is in you. Okay, yeah, big words from the small funny PNG flying around on screen. But how does this actually turn into tangible products, experiences, things that I can use to escape from the harsh reality of the fact that I need to wake up at 8 a.m. tomorrow while it's currently 3 a.m. and I'm not even tired? Insert the compass. This little doohickey is now the second most popular video on my channel, and it sparked a little bit of hope in my mind. It's a novel concept, but it's something that really was the groundwork for everything I did. The premise in one paragraph or less: the compass breaks people, fictional and non-fictional, into two parts. An endo, a term that means a person's core desires, needs, and passions, and an exo, a filter that they use to see the world. You can take these archetypes produced by the compass, as well as its many other features and nuances, to tailor an experience around a specific person. Why do you resonate with the character you designed? Why is a specific playstyle the one that you always come back to? Why won't Jeremy stop playing a rogue just to steal all our stuff every time we finish a boss? Seriously, Jeremy, this is getting really annoying and I'm serious. Well, if you're able to design a character of a specific archetype that matches yours, I can put you in a world with choices that far exceeds reality. In this world, you may know magic, you may have access to superior resources, better technology, medicine, immortality. And it's all fun and games until you realize that you're at the cusp of a decision that may impede on your character's life forever. Or worse, potentially, everybody else's. But what your character does doesn't really matter at all unless you're truly immersed. And that's the real kicker. When it comes to consuming any type of media, it can't be a moving story unless you feel immersed in your character, whether that be the protagonist of a movie or the antagonist of a book. Here's where it all clicks. You've got a world shaped by your choices, a character tailored to your playstyle, and yes, full legal immunity for punching Jeremy. Most importantly, we have a world where everything you do is canon, meaning your actions genuinely impact this ever-evolving expanse for everybody. The immersion comes in the meta part of meta-narrative, the way that your actions genuinely impact the story, the lives these characters live, the investments you've created along the way, other people's characters even. And the more people that join in, the more realistic this fantasy world gets, the more immersive it gets even. All these little pieces begin to fall into place to create something marvelous, an entire universe that cares about what you think, how you respond, what struggles you've gone through. And this is what happens next. These ideas are the ones I've been battling back and forth on. Is this realistic? Is this even possible? Was the game I made only good because of some niche mechanics or just a change of pace? And I finally have my answer. I don't really care, honestly. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. If you want to walk away with Utopia TTRPG purely and solely for the mechanics of the game, that's amazing, and I'm glad it treated you well. But if there's somebody out there who can walk away from a story with a new perspective in a way that no other story could, then there's a reason for it. If this simulated existence can show you something about yourself, about the others around you, about why the world doesn't make any sense at a glance, then there's a reason for it. None of these systems are perfect, and there's an obstacle behind every corner when it comes to anything that's designed to fit all walks of life, but that's what makes it important. So we made a game. And this game will recognize your personality traits and map them onto in-world characters, not as a command, but as an option. That way you can play around in whatever way suits you. When you play, come up with characters, tell stories about your adventures. You'll talk about them to other people and contrast them against their experiences. We've gotten this far. Next up, I'll have to draft up a story based on the interactions you had, about the world after you've been in it, what's changed, what's better, and what's worse because of it. And as this world expands, I'll listen in on what you wish could have been done, what mechanics you wish you could have leveraged, where you felt contained and where you weren't immersed. and I'll return with another set of mechanics, a new facet of the world, a new way to interact. This will be the next game in the series, perhaps the sequel to Utopia, or another game entirely, like Oracles. And now everybody will have a new stomping ground, a new sense of intuition, a new piece of the world for them to leave their footprints in. And every single time we repeat this cycle, we'll be more and more immersed. That's what join the narrative means to me, and now I have some stories to tell. It's definitely a new concept to me to talk about my personal journey and design concept when it comes to making games and content. There's a lot of fundamental ideas I had when designing, and I never really thought that much about talking about them out loud. It's scary, honestly, nerve-wracking. But regardless, it's so important to me. If you're interested in playing Utopia TTRPG or learning about the compass in more detail, I'll have both of those videos in the description below, as well as on the end cards of this video. If you want to talk about your experiences or ask questions, I'll have links below for Discord and Twitch. I promise those two things are quite a bit more pivotal than they sound in the grand scheme of things. And if it means anything, I'm quite active on both of those. Ping me, shout my name, ask me questions directly on either. If you like what you're hearing from this video or you're willing to show some support, subscribe to the channel. I respect the time and effort you put into interacting with me and the community, and hope you enjoy every minute of it. Thank you to all my lovely patrons. With Patreon, you can find cool things like the rough manuscript for the first expansion of Utopia TTRPG while it's being developed live. If that interests you, I do have free trials turned on. And of course, thanks.